Hello and welcome to the Common Law Court of New Zealand, where we're going to find out what English common law is and how it works. Did you know that every man and woman is born with certain unalienable rights? Now these rights cannot be changed by anyone unless you let them. But in ancient times, men came along who had amassed great fortunes, and with it power over others. They called themselves kings, emperors, popes, but they all had one thing in common. They wanted to control everyone else, and the only way they could do that was through fear and intimidation. But a group of rich English landholders, the barons, were fed up with the dictates of their king. So they met with King John at Runnymede on 15 June 1215, where they signed the Magna Carta to enshrine our rights and freedoms in stone for all time. The Magna Carta, also called the Great Charter, did not grant rights to anyone, but simply recognised pre-existing natural liberties that the English had enjoyed long before the Normans conquered their island in 1066. Common law rights include your right to go about your lawful daily life without interference from anyone, including those from the government and police. It includes freedom of speech, freedom of movement, and the right to be considered innocent unless proven guilty in a trial before 12 of your peers. The Magna Carta is central to New Zealand's democratic foundations and the Australian and United States constitutions, as well as every international human rights convention. And the arcane and historically specific provisions of much of the Charter do not distract from its continued ability to act as a counterweight against tyranny and arbitrary power. But what if our so-called government ignores the 1835 New Zealand Declaration of Independence? Section 61 of the Magna Carta grants us the absolute right to refuse to obey any Crown or government commands that deprive us of any of our rights without due process under common law. We are also protected by the English Bill of Rights 1689, and the English Bill of Rights is an act that the Parliament of England passed on December 16, 1689. The bill creates separation of powers, limits the powers of the Crown, enhances the democratic election, and bolsters freedom of speech. So how do we get justice under common law? Ever since the 1835 Declaration of Independence of United Tribes of New Zealand, politicians have been working stealthily to deprive us of our common law rights. But because New Zealand has an internationally recognised proclamation, they can never take away our rights unless we allow them to. And common law is based on what is called case law. The 1840 Treaty of Waitangi was to grant sovereignty of the lands to the Maori tribe. However, there was a deception of language, and the treaty transferred sovereignty from the Maori tribes to the British Crown, creating Roman or Admiralty or civil law. They are all the same thing. But our common law is still there. All we have to do is use it. As a result, the New Zealand government has ignored the 1835 Declaration of Independence and the sovereign, unalienable rights of the people, and they use Admiralty law instead. We're not a ship at sea, are we? They have fooled us by creating and promulgating their own Admiralty law, and they have created a private corporation to run their private corporation government. That's why they use an NZBN number. Our common law is still the supreme law of the land. The politicians can never get rid of it. The political party, so-called governments, the courts and the police all operate under Admiralty law, which says we are guilty unless proven innocent. That's the exact opposite of common law. So what can we do about it? Thanks to the Magna Carta and the English Bill of Rights, there's plenty we can do about it. We, the people of New Zealand, have supreme power, not the politicians, judges or police. And it is up to us to right the wrongs done against us. We can do this by convening common law courts in our communities. It's very easy to do. All we need to do is follow a simple 12-step procedure. You can read the 12 steps on the Common Law Court website These are the steps. 1. Compile your case. 2. File a notice of claim of right. 3. The community comes together to elect the court into being. 4. Those elected swear the oaths of office. 5. Conduct a pre-trial conference. 6. Issue a public summons to the accused. 7. The trial commences with opening arguments. 8. The main proceedings. Each side personally presents their case to the jury. There are no lawyers in a common law court. 9. Closing arguments and summaries to the jury and final advice to the adjudicator. 10. The jury retires to deliberate. 11. The jury issues its unanimous verdict and sentence, and a verdict must be unanimous or the case is dismissed. 12. The court adjourns and the sentence is enforced. It's that simple. This collective law enforcement is required in the interest of public safety, especially when the guilty party is an entire institution or the head officers of that body. The Common Law Court New Zealand National Team will provide guidance and education to any community that wishes to convene a common law court. What will life be like as we reintroduce common law? The aim of communism has always been world domination, and socialism is just soft communism. In New Zealand, socialism has infiltrated every strata of our society, from the top right down to the bottom. Communism always establishes itself by first destroying the social fabric of the society it is targeting, and then substituting socialist ideas instead. If you look closely at New Zealand society today, you can see socialism at work everywhere. Fathers are deprived of their children by the courts, destroying family cohesion. Children no longer receive a decent education. So-called free trade agreements have destroyed the New Zealand farming and manufacturing sectors. But we New Zealanders are a strong and resilient people. Common law is all about respecting others, doing no harm to others, and taking responsibility for your own actions. And common law courts are not just about punishing lawbreakers. They provide communities a way to resolve disputes peacefully through mediation. Only when mediation fails is a dispute brought before a court for a 12-man-woman jury to decide. By returning to common law, we can hold the so-called government people accountable. Human beings are social animals. We love to be together, work together, play together. Common law will bring us together again. We will be able to decide together which trade treaties benefit us. We will be able to revitalise our manufacturing and agriculture to provide New Zealand goods and services for New Zealanders. Socialism seeks to divide communities so that we lose touch with our humanity. We see this with the current COVID-19 so-called crisis. Social distancing is the first step in creating a permanent divide between us. Any community can convene a common law court to start resolving problems. Common law courts provide justice, community spirit, and harmony. Isn't that something worth striving for? And isn't it time that we, the people, take responsibility for our own actions? Let's start filling up common law courtrooms everywhere to bring back truth and justice.